Welcome to Healing and Made Free with Janet Boynes Ministries. Thank you for listening. Janet will be talking about her struggle with addiction, alcohol, drugs, eating disorders, unwanted same-sex attraction, and living a homosexual life. Janet has survived all those things by the grace of God. Janet's not a doctor, she's not a therapist, she's not a psychotherapist, she's not a licensed counselor. Janet is an ordained pastor and wants to show you God's promises, how God has set her free, and how you can be set free. What He has done for her, He will do it for you. If healing and freedom are what you want, you have come to the right place at the right time. Let's get started. Here is Janet Boynes.
Now, this is a guest. I am intrigued as much as you're going to be intrigued. I have Grant Stinchfield. Grant, welcome to Janet Boynes Ministries.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
You know, I was on your social media on, I think it was, I'm not sure which one it was, but this is something that you wrote. You says, how you fight your battles from within separates the winners from the losers. 2024 is almost here. Get in the game now. Mm-hmm. Explain that.
Well, I mean, there's so much there. That was specifically talking about a super PAC that had some problems that's supporting of President Trump, and that was a video about this one super PAC that's raising money, and the people running it, I've got support for. They had to move some people out of the super PAC, and that was what fighting your battles from within means. And how you react to fighting your battles from within does separate the winners from losers. So we can look at this all the way down to life. Battles within ourselves, you either handle them or you don't. And if you don't handle the battle from within yourself, you're never going to have success in life. You got to find ways to keep moving forward. Always have your eyes on the horizon and keep pushing forward. I think this goes for where we face as a Republican Party, as conservatives, me as a Trump supporter, that we've got to keep pushing forward. And certainly as Republicans, we have major battles within. Sometimes I think Republicans do more harm to themselves than Democrats do. So, this is about making sure that what's right stays right and always being bold and believing in yourself to constantly push the message.
Well, I'm a Trump supporter too. I'm a Republican. Not a lot of my Black friends like that too much. Those that are on the left, but that's their problem. You know, we grow up in the world to do where we feel the Lord is leading us, and that's the way I'm going. You know, have you
seen any change with that? I hear anecdotally, specifically among Black men. I used to own a construction company. A trucking company. I sold just a little while ago. I had a lot of a whole menagerie of colors, shapes, and sizes as truck drivers, from Hispanics, whites, Blacks, Asians, you name it. A lot of the Black truck drivers were telling me they were Trump supporters. And I don't know if you're seeing that in your community or not, but at least it was at least a sign of hope for me that maybe some people are waking up.
It is a sign of hope, but most of them will not come out openly and say that because they don't want to be beat over the head with a 2x4. I have a titanium spine, as my good friend Michelle Bachman would say, who got me to write her for my first book. You need a titanium spine in order to be Black and say, you're a Republican, because our ancestors, most of us grew up Democrats. But so many of them are stuck in their ways and feel like the Democrats are doing so much for them when they're really not. When Trump was in office, he did more for us than Barack Obama did for us. So, we can get into that political arena. However, I want to ask you some questions because I think you're going to answer some really important questions for me. You almost turned the tables on me because you're such a good interviewer. I follow you on social media and you are so good. You have to have me on your show.
I would love it.
Amazing. You used to work for Newsmax and many of the other media circuits. Let's talk about your past a little bit before you got into what you're doing right now. So you're on Newsmax. What were some of the other news media circuits that you were on?
Well, I don't really hold it as a badge of honor because I'm so disgusted by mainstream media, but I worked 20 years for the NBC owned and operated stations group. I worked for NBC stations around the country. I was an investigative reporter. When the economy started to shift in 2008, I did everything from chasing storms to sports you name it. But my specialty was investigative reporting. I've got 4 Emmys to my name for that. But the mainstream media had shifted so much, even at a local level. In 2011, I felt it was important to leave. And I opened up a business. It was an oil change auto care mechanic shop, large one, employed anywhere between 15 and 20 people at the time. Ran that for 7 years. I started a trucking company, had that for about 7 years. Built both of these companies up, recently sold them. And along the way, I ran for Congress. I lost that race in a Republican primary. That led me to help the NRA start NRA TV, which put me into the conservative game. And I would do radio as well. I did Afternoon Drive in Dallas, conservative talk radio. And I now host a morning drive show. We're #2 morning show in Los Angeles. I do that from my Dallas home. And then, of course, now I have the Real America's Voice show, which is every night, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Real America's Voice. Anywhere you find streaming, Roku, Pluto, or you can just stream it straight on the web or the app. It's there for you.
You know, that's where I saw you is on the Real American Talk Show and on Instagram. I see you widely on Instagram. You are just dynamic and just your speaking, your boldness. And that's what I like about you. A lot of people say I'm bold, but you're much bolder than I am. Before I get into the questions, I want to talk about your family. You have kids. Tell us about your family. I don't see any of that on your social media.
Let me just say this about boldness. It's important for everybody out there to understand that if you're on social media and you're trying to push the message. My 20 years in TV news, I had to boil down very in-depth stories to about 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's how long a so-called package is on the nightly newscast at 6 o'clock. It is so imperative that we simplify issues, boil them down, get right to the point, and then hammer them over the head with it. It's that simple. If we're rambling on social media, it's one thing to have a podcast to do an hour podcast. Great. But on social media, I say keep it to these 90-second reels. You got to get the message in. You got to simplify it and get right to the point. And I tell everyone, be bold. You don't just have to be a black person, Republican, have a titanium spine. If you're a conservative in Los Angeles, you need to have a titanium spine because people will come after you. So that's really important. As for my family, I have one 14-year-old son. He is he's a great young man. I'm so proud of him. He's a critical thinker, which is what I try to raise my child as. He goes to Dallas Independent School District. He's an inner city school. And I believe the education he's learning there is about as good as it gets because he's going to be street smart as he navigates life. I'm a firm believer that homeschooling is great. If you can homeschool, great. But there's some things you miss when you homeschool, which is real life. And I'm also a firm believer that I'm going to talk to my kid every day he comes home from school. I grill him on what they're talking about. I look at his textbook. What do the teachers say? He has to learn the skills to navigate the woke agenda, to navigate the craziness, to navigate the critical race theory, to navigate the gender ideology. If I pull him out and put him in a shell, he's not going to be in a shell when he gets kicked out of the nest at 21 years old. I want my kid knowing how to navigate these issues right away, how to critically think for himself, and how to push back in a respectful manner. And then, of course, feel so safe that he can come talk to me about anything.
And that's what's important. I love that you said that. And, that's what's important that a lot of parents are not doing. They don't read what their children are bringing home. They don't know how many gay books are in the library, which they have 50 or 60 or 70. You got a, 3 to 5 year old or a 5 to 7 year old that is in school and they go to the media center or the library, they grab a book and they're grabbing a book on homosexuality. But since you actually touched on that, let me go there for a minute. Homosexuality is one of the number one issues we're dealing with in America. Why do you think many political arenas are not dealing with this issue besides Ron DeSantis? Because he talks about it all the time. Yes, Trump might have dabbed into it, but Ron is hitting this thing. And I love that about him because as a person who lived that life for 14 years and been out 20 and now travel the country and speak on this issue, I don't see many people in the political arena talking about this issue. I was just on Capitol Hill talking with a few people about it, and we can't even get some of those folks on the Hill to even do a bill regarding this issue.
Well, which issue? What issue? Exactly.
Dealing with homosexuality, period. How do we navigate the bathroom bill?
Well, so there's all this, you say, and this is very, very important, because if you say navigating homosexuality and we say we need a bill on this, what are you telling people? They can't be gay? I mean,
you can do whatever you want, but I don't think men should be able to go into women's bathrooms. So
then that's the bill. Then Janet, that's the bill. So,
okay,
so this is what I mean about getting to the point and simplifying it. If you say we have to write a bill on homosexuality, you will bring the heat and wrath of the mainstream media on you, because they will just accuse you of being a bigot and a racist. If you say I need a bill on not allowing men into women's bathrooms because young women are feeling unsafe when that happens, that's a whole different ballgame. We need a bill that says, you know what, a school district must inform parents if their kids are talking about changing their identity or changing their name or changing 100%. Say what the bill is. Don't just say a bill navigating homosexuality. That could mean a million things, and the left is going to make up what they want it to mean when they lay it down on you. So look,
they do that anyway.
Homosexuality, to me, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's not in my Bible. But in many respects on this issue, I'm somewhat of a libertarian. I really don't give a rat's ass what you do on your own private time. Just don't bring it into my kid's life. Don't try to indoctrinate my child. And in many respects, I've got a lot of gay Republican friends, Brandon Straka, Gays Against Groomers. All these voices are very, very important voices. What the radical gay loons have done, have given an absolute horrible name to everyday gay folks out there who just want to live their life and not want to indoctrinate kids or young adults or bring people into this transgender lifestyle. They've given them such a hard name that now it looks like they work so hard, the gay community, to not be perceived as child molesters, which was a wrong perception that all gays are child molesters. But what's happening now is the new radical left LGBTQ alphabet city agenda is making everybody appear like they're trying to groom children. They're going backwards, just as they're going backwards with women in sports. All of these rights that they fought for, the left is now pushing back against them and going backwards, and they're doing it, not us.
Well, there are groomers against transgenderism. The fact still remains is that I appreciate that they are against those that are trying to groom our children. However, they're still living a homosexual life and still wanting our children to live a gay lifestyle. So either way,
I don't
they're
know
still wrong.
I don't know.
I live that life.
Yeah.
And that's what I do for a living every day.
And I'm curious.
Among those that are.
So every gay man or woman wants a child to live a gay lifestyle?
No, not everyone. But there's many out there. Yeah,
okay, that's an important distinction. Yeah. Again, it's all about your words. The important distinctions are so important, because what you just told me is they all want kids to be gay.
No, not all of them, but there's a majority of them. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a majority of them that would like to see our kids be gay and transition. Let me go to my next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In 2021, during Pride Month, you were accused of anti-Semitic remarks against Kellogg, together with Pride cereal. It was said that that the woke cereal will force children to be confused about the gender over breakfast.
Yeah,
I agree with your terms.
Yeah,
Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, isn't it great? I'm accused of being homophobic and all this stuff. And literally, I just defended 2 minutes ago. I just tried to defend people's right to go live their life and do whatever they want. But this is about the children. If first off, I think my joke was the leprechaun already looks gay to me. He's prancing around in a little outfit that no self-respecting man would ever prance around in, right? That it doesn't consider himself gay. So they got the leprechaun outfits, but beyond that, they were moving. And I don't quite remember the story, but I do remember the publicity it got. Just the sheer fact that you're pushing this stuff on children. Who's eating cereal? I'm a 54-year-old man. I'm not Lucky Charms, right? Who's eating this cereal? They do this to target the kids. Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, right? Bud Light is not being drank by kids. At least it shouldn't be. But do you know Dylan Mulvaney?
Aren't doing it to do this to our kids, right?
What's that?
I said all people aren't doing this to our kids. Isn't that correct? You just said all people, they're all doing this to our kids?
I don't think I said they're all doing this to our kids.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, yeah. I said that it seems like they're pushing this on our kids. I said, take Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light. His overwhelming demographic of his followers on his social media are well below 18 years old. So you don't think Bud Light knows the demographic of the kids when they're pushing Dylan Mulvaney to push Bud Light? So what's happening? Either they're pushing the gay agenda or they're pushing alcohol on our young children. Maybe both.
And sex.
And sex, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in New York, I don't know if you heard it, but during Gay Pride Parade, they were singing, "Hey, we're coming for your children." The San Francisco choir came out with a song a year ago, "We're coming for your children."
Right.
Everything is wrapped around our children. Everything that you have been saying has been geared towards our children. When you talk with your 14-year-old son, how do you address this with him? Or do you?
What the chant was, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for our children."
Yeah.
Right.
Regardless, they're coming for them. Yep.
I know pretty quickly my son is not gay just from watching what he is drawn to. Okay. As a 14-year-old boy whose hormones are raging, and watching his eyes in the mall and watching what he is doing. He is a typical 14-year-old boy. So I don't feel like I've got to worry a lot about that. And he's a very strong-willed young man. So he's also big. He's 6'1", 210 pounds at 14 years old with a 13. Yeah. So early on, even as a child, he was an outspoken kid. He was loud. These are not the types of kids that groomers typically are drawn to. Groomers typically are drawn to the child that has more of an inward sense of awareness, that is more withdrawn from society, that may be a little more shy, that maybe they can manipulate. My kid was never that kid. He was always kind of a big kid, and he always was outgoing. If you tried anything on him, he's screaming, yelling, and he might fight back. I never worried too much about him on that front. It's the kids that are quiet, the ones that are withdrawn, the ones that have an air about them of maybe a little insecurity. These groomers prey on that. And you know what? They prey on that all the way through adulthood. I know plenty of men, and you know what? Honestly, I know plenty of women that'll find a weakness in you and they will attack that weakness. That happens in adult life too. Sad part is, hopefully as an adult, you learn to start to recognize it. But as a child, you don't know. And so again, it is important to talk to your kid about that. I've had conversations like this with my son. I say, if anybody talks to you or touches you or do anything, you got to come right. And I've had all those talks, but it's not something that was front and center with him on that. The things that I have front and center conversations with my son are school shootings. What do you do? Teachers get mad at me. I used to work for the NRA. These teachers are idiots. They're dopes when it comes to firearms. I told him, you know what it's like to be at a range. You get out of that school. We have a meeting place. I don't want you following the direction of the teacher. I want you out. Run away from where you're hearing the gunfire. You get out of the school and you meet me at the meeting point. I don't care if the principal's telling you he's going to suspend you for 10 days. Out of the school. That's our plan. And we go through it.
I'm talking with Grant Stinchfield, the Real American Show. Grant, it sounds like, and just from looking at your social media picture, you have a wonderful relationship with your son. How important is it for fathers to have a really good, healthy relationship and spend time with their son? Because I saw you at the ball game. You know, I went through your page just to see your pictures and see what you do. How important is that for dads right now, especially in this era, with this era?
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous for parental involvement of all kinds, but I think our kids need a positive male role model. And I think that that's part of the problem with society today is we're missing male role models. There's a war on men in society. Toxic masculinity is looked at as somehow bad. I would like to think I'm a wildly toxic male and proud of it. But I also jokingly say, but it's not really a joke, I'm also in touch with my inner femininity. And I can be vulnerable and I can hug my son and I can tell him I love him. Every morning I say, come here, give me a hug. And he doesn't want to hug me. He's a 14-year-old boy. I said, no, you put your arms around me and you give me a hug and we bear hug. I want him to know that I love him with everything I have. Now, with that said, he can tick me off. We were in the airport. I shouldn't probably tell you this, but him and I went to Vegas last weekend. And so we were running around Vegas all over the place, going to NBA summer leagues, and he was watching me play some slots. But I'm teaching him moderation. My goal is that none of this stuff is forbidden now. When he gets to be 18, 19, and he goes hog wild, he can say, you know what, I've been to Vegas with my dad. It's not that big a deal. I don't need to go hog wild here with my 18, 19-year-old friends because I've experienced it already. So these are some of my thought processes of raising him. But he didn't want to hold my Yeti mug in the airport. Like, so I got to get all the stuff in my hands and I got to chuck us in and I got the boarding and he doesn't want to hold my Yeti mug. I almost strangled him. Then we land and he doesn't want me listening to Fox News and the radio. I got to get ready for my show tonight. I've been on a plane. I got to listen. He wants to listen to music and he's complaining. I said, I just spent Lord knows how much money to take you to bed. I'm going to pull the car over and I'm going to beat your ass. Is what I said. So,
hey, Grant, I don't want to listen to Fox News either. That's just, I'm with your son on this one. But what it sounds like, and I like some of the things that our parents don't want our children to do. You're like, look, I'm going to go to Vegas. It's harmless. I'm going to play a few slots. I'm going to put him out there a little bit. So if he does have questions, one, he can come to me and I can answer those questions right now. But also he won't be so anxious to go say, I couldn't do this. So I'm going to go dabble in that. I'm going to go dabble in that.
Do you know what I think the best lesson was? We lost. Every time we play these slots, I put $100 in. Ding, 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 gone in literally 4 minutes. And so we lost. So I think he's looking at Dad, why would you play? Why would you play these things?
Oh my gosh. Hey, I'm loving your son already. I can tell he's a man's man and he has a good dad leading him. Grant, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Thank God. Do you think, your personal opinion, that gay marriage should be overturned?
Yeah, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. And so, in many respects, some people look at it as semantics, but it's not semantics. Marriage is a term that is very, very important. When you marry someone, I believe, my Bible tells me, it's between a man and a woman. So I have now had a morphosis, if that's even a word, that you want to have civil unions, you want to do all this. If your state, you vote on that and it's up to you. I don't think this should be at a federal level either. I think this should be at a state level. And you want to vote civil unions, fine. But I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. And I believe this is a religious issue and the government shouldn't have any role on this. Now, I've also said this. I'm not sure government should have any role in marriage at all. Why do I got to go and get a marriage certificate? Why do I have to go to City Hall and pay a fee to get married? Why is that? Why can't I just go to my church and get married? Why is government playing a role in marriage?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've never been married and I don't have kids. God willing, someday I will. At 65, I don't know, if that's in the cards for me.
Never too late. Well, for the kids, it probably is. But
I mean, I guess I could have got married many times, but it would have been to the wrong guy. So I choose to wait for the best one. In your personal opinion, what is the biggest challenge you think for Christians today?
Well, I think that our country is under a satanic attack. I don't know how else to explain what is going on, but literally what is happening to this country is evil to the core. I believe that they're devil's disciples, the leaders of the Democrat Party, they're pushing this craziness on this country, not just the gender ideology, LGBTQ, but think about the harm. You're moving a person to mutilate their bodies. This is about as evil as it possibly gets. And they're pushing people towards this. But you look at the other policies that they push as well, with the lack of freedom and wanting to shut down speech and the vaccine that they pushed on us and mandated that we do things with our bodies. All of this is satanic. So I think there is a war on Christianity. There is certainly a war on religion. When you're a communist or a socialist, you can't tolerate religion of any kind, because if those people are beholden to a higher power, how are they going to be beholden to you as a leader? How are they going to look to you to lead them through when instead I can turn to God and Jesus to lead me through my life? It doesn't work for communists, which is why I think there's a war on religion and specifically Christianity in general.
You know, in the beginning of the show, we talked about some politics. How important is it for Christians to get it right this time and the world to get it right when we vote, you know, in 2024, 2025? How important is that? We know that their target is Trump. They don't want him to be president. Again, that's why they're throwing everything at him but the kitchen sink. Mm-hmm. How important is it for us to get involved?
Well, it's so important that we get involved at any level. And, you know, so many people will come out here and say this, but I even say literally just talk about these issues with those that are near you, even at work. People say, oh, I don't talk about politics at the dinner table. Well, that's the exact place you should be talking about politics.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't talk to politics with my family. You know, don't talk politics with your family if you have an ultra leftist that you're never going to convince. Don't waste your breath on those people. They're never going to change. It's not worth it. But you know the people that are open-minded to it all. You know the people that start to ask you questions. Spend time with those people. Explain to those people. Don't lose your cool. My grandfather always had a great saying, always follow one golden rule, no matter whatever happens, never blow your cool. And honestly, that's how you should be when you're talking to friends, families, coworkers about politics. Let them be the ones that blow their cool. Because once you start to blow your cool, you lose in the whole argument. Don't waste your breath on the ultra leftists. Try to focus in on those people that are curious.
Grant, we're coming to an end. My audience is a lot different than your audience. I'm sure I might have some of the same people that will be watching this, but speak to them. Just speak from your heart. What would you like to say?
Well, look, I just think there shouldn't be any difference in audiences, right? We are all Americans, and I know that sounds so corny. But in the end, what my show is about, what my mission is about, what I've dedicated my life to, is this country is the greatest nation in the world. And there are people across this country, great patriots, I'm sure the ones listening to your program, that will never give this country up. So as much as it looks like we are in a moment of despair for this nation, and we have a satanic attack being unleashed on this nation, there are so many strong patriots, conservatives, people that love America that will never give up on this country. There's no way they take it from us. We're more passionate than they are. We're smarter than they are. We have the Constitution on our side. We have the truth on our side. And truthfully, I believe God is on our side. You have those things in your pocket. How in the world do you lose this war? But it takes engagement. It doesn't mean you just hope it happens and wait for it to happen. We need all of us to come together and make it happen. And I believe that will happen, even no matter what happens in the next election, even though President Trump has to win. He has to win. And I think he will win, providing there's not cheating, but he has to win. But even if, God forbid, the worst happened, there's no way they take this nation from us. They can do damage to it. They can chip away at our freedoms step by step. But in the end, at some point, we are going to win because this is America, and I never give up on America.
Grant, this has been awesome. How can folks watch your show? Where do they go? How do they get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
So a whole bunch of ways. AM870.info. You can actually watch in the mornings. It's 9 to 12 Eastern, 6 to 9 Pacific time. AM870.info. Real America's Voice is where my TV show is. Anywhere they're streaming, Roku, Pluto, just go to the Real America's Voice channel. And then, of course, the app. You can just go to the website, realamericasvoice.com. And my website, grantstinchfield.com, has links to everything. That may actually just be the easiest. And I would urge people, please subscribe to my podcast. Go to the website, grantstinchfield.com. Subscribe to the podcast there. We're going 4 days a week, soon to be 5 days a week on that. And Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to everybody that's engaged and involved with following and pushing my content and really being part of that content, because it is a family.
You guys watch Grant shows. You will be inspired. And I just love you. I like you on social media. You're amazing. Thank you for being on Healing and Made Free with Janet Boynes. I
appreciate you inviting me on, Janet. It's very kind of you to spend time with me. And I'm grateful. Keep up what you're doing as well. All of this, we're in it together.
Thank you for listening to Healing and Made Free with Janet Boynes. Acts 10:34 says, God is no respecter of persons. God doesn't play favorites, which means what he has done for Janet, what he has done for guests on this show, he will do for you too. If you are struggling with anything, do not hesitate to reach out to Janet Boynes Ministries. They will do their best to help you any way they can. Go to the website, janetboynesministries.com. Janet loves you, and most importantly, God loves you. Have a blessed day.